wilderness living in Minnesota, we think north and trees and lush green spaces. But the wilderness is something very different in the Bible. In the Bible, the land of wilderness was a time of dryness, a time of being empty. The exile to Babylon was one such time for God's people.
It's important to understand the exile when we look at the book of Isaiah. Because the book of Isaiah contains the words of the 8th century prophet, Isaiah of Jerusalem, that warned about the coming destruction. And his words, his visions, are carried on in writings of others that will span 300 years. And it is this whole collection of writings that we have is our book of Isaiah today. In 597 BCE, before the Common Era, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon exiles the land of Judah. Now, the land of Judah, this is the old kingdom of David. After Solomon's death, the kingdom of David separates into two, a northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. In 721 BCE, a couple hundred years before, the Assyrian Empire destroys the north, and all the people are deported, never to be heard of again. 10 tribes of the original 12 tribes of Israel disappear. In the south, Benjamin and Judah, those tribes still remain, and they hold off the siege of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem in the south does not fall. That point, in 597, King Nebuchadnezzar comes in and puts his own king, a king by the name of Zedekiah, on the throne. He's a puppet of Nebuchadnezzar. Well, he was until he revolted. And the revolt of King Zedekiah creates, in 586 BCE, the destruction of Jerusalem. Because Nebuchadnezzar comes back with his armies and he razes the temple, he destroys the temple. And between here and slightly later, people are exiled. They're deported. They're captives of this foreign land, Babylon. And they're taken from the land of Judah to Babylon, across the wilderness. And there they languish. There they struggle with being a captive people. There they worry about their relationship with God. Because you got a problem. When God's temple is destroyed in 586, it either indicates one of two things. That God is not all-powerful, because if he wouldn't let his temple be destroyed, first thing. Maybe even more disturbing. God may still be all-powerful, but God may have had enough, finally, with this rebellious people that again and again turn to other gods, again and again stray. And so these deep, dark, disturbing, is God powerful enough? Does God still love us? Those are part of what exile creates, that experience. Now, did everybody go into exile? No. And historically, we're not quite sure exactly how many people were deported to Babylon. But this is sure. This becomes a defining moment in the history of Israel, in the history of our forebears, our parents in the faith. This exile is so critical because it shapes the Bible that we have today. A lot of the final versions of the books of the Old Testament come to us out of this experience of exile. The people take their scriptures with them, and they shape them, they mold them into the forms that we have today. It is in this context that 2nd Isaiah looks out, not to a destruction of the people, but to the hopeful restoration. And Isaiah, 2nd Isaiah, looks to the wilderness as the place where God will work, where God will work in the dryness and the barren nature of the land to bring forth new birth and new life. The wilderness becomes a time of shaping and molding. And it is that Isaiah invites us to consider not the former things, not the former temple, not the former ideas, not the former practices, not the former faith, but to consider that God is about to do something new and to look forward to it, to yearn for it, to hope in it. 2nd Isaiah is about hoping and trusting that God is powerful, for God created the heavens and the earth. Beautiful creation imagery in there. And God loves us. God claims us as the people of God. You are mine, and you are beloved. With those two things, the power of God and the faith that God continues to love us, the people of exile yearn and grow in their wilderness.
We're going to be taking a look at the book of 2nd Isaiah in this devotion series. And each week I will share a few words on a video that'll provide some background, some connections with this biblical book. I hope you enjoy this devotion series and also these videos that accompany it. May they shine a little light